Hello, I'm Chuckles, and I'm in 4K! Been a while since we've had updated visuals. Then again, it's been a while since I've done any vlogs. By which I mean it has been a long 3 years. Longer for some than others. As some of you heard me say over on my personal channel, I didn't suffer like other people suffered during the pandemic because my job at UPS makes me an essential worker and thus I never stopped. In fact, because organizations like UPS are what they are, and because everyone was trapped inside, only able to access things online and have them delivered, I was working way more than usual. Combine that with the fact that I got fully vaxxed and boosted and took as much precaution as I could, managing to avoid getting plague-ridden myself, and the fact that I'm an introvert who spends most days indoors anyway, and you get nothing really changing for me. Except one thing did actually change. The motivation to work on my career plummeted severely. No travel meant plans for the Japan filming, which were already on hold, were now on hold indefinitely. And instead of working on more business plans, more scripts, more personal projects, I am one of many people who simply went through the motions of daily life without actually working on what I was passionate about. Well, I say that, but the truth is I never stopped making videos. I just stopped after the shooting phase every time. By which I mean I have an absolutely insane backlog of footage to edit. Because I would shoot all of these different things, and then after I put everything onto the hard drive, I would just not edit it, not post it, not update anything on my various accounts, because that's where my motivation died. Two things finally roused me from this state and got me moving again. The first was getting connected to local filmmakers here in Nashville. I had been hearing that the music city is slowly becoming the movie city in recent times, and I had met some local filmmakers before, but hadn't really collaborated with any of them. Now I have. I've crewed on a couple of short films and have gotten some help for a short film that I'm producing. Making the best looking short film I can possibly make gave me the excuse I needed to finally purchase a high-end cinematic camera. At least high-end compared to what I've been using. Test footage from this camera, as well as previs and rehearsals from the short, will be uploaded over on Instagram, and the short itself will be posted here when it's done. Remember when I said I've shot a bunch of stuff but haven't edited it? There are a lot of equipment unboxing and trying out videos coming to the Chuckles channel. But that's not the only new content that's coming. The second thing that got me to get back into a sort of groove is an opportunity that cropped up to travel once again. If you've been following my Asian Readathon videos, still haven't cleared the most recent one, the review for Pachinko is coming! You know that I am unsubscribed to Cindy Pham's channel with Cindy. Cindy is a nomad of sorts with a passion for travel. About 2 years ago, she started planning group trips to go on with her subscribers. At the time, she had put out a survey asking people where in the world they might like to go with her.
The top countries from the survey, if I remember correctly, were Japan and South Korea. I love the idea of going to those countries. The problem is, it's expensive as hell. So I was like, if we do that, my subscribers will have a heart attack when they see the price, cause I know you are poor. I'm not even throwing shade at y'all, I'm just being realistic here. I'm looking out for you, okay?
Fair enough. So ultimately, she decided to go to Thailand, which was relatively inexpensive as far as international trips go, and an excellent food destination, which is the activity her subscribers most want.
There was a lot of interest for food and culture, but there was a noticeable drop for people interested in outdoorsy, adventurous activities. This does not surprise me at all, because not only are you poor, I also know that we are book nerds who barely move. So no, we're not gonna swing across a jungle or dive down a waterfall. We can barely deal with getting a paper cut.
She did this wanting to meet people in her community face to face and share in the joy of traveling, but she didn't have the biggest expectations for turnout.
The minimum number of spots for a group to confirm that the trip will happen is gonna be 8 travelers. The maximum number of people before we cut off would be 20 people. But I don't think there's gonna be that many people that will sign up, but who knows, maybe you'll surprise me.
Sold out immediately. Maximum number of people. Cindy underestimates the fervor of her fans. So successful was that trip that it gave Cindy the confidence to do it again, this time in Vietnam. Also a raging success. Also sold out. This whole time I had signed up for the email list to receive announcements about the trips. At this point I wasn't thinking I'd be able to go on any of them, but I still wanted to be on the list, just in case. Then came the email over a year ago in which Cindy basically said, "Alright, fine, let's go to Japan." It was the top choice after all, and at this point Cindy can no longer deny that there are plenty of subscribers who have the will and the means to follow her anywhere in the world. Incidentally, next year she is going to that other top choice. The announcement for Japan with Cindy was sent out while I was at work. By the time I got off and got the email, it was already sold out. I put myself on the waiting list, but given what happened with the other trips, I was not confident that anyone would drop out, and indeed, no one did. I was sad that I missed out, but I figured it just wasn't meant to be. I will go back one day, just not today. Then came the announcement for Japan 2 with Cindy. The idea of going to Japan was so overwhelmingly popular in her community that she decided to do 2 group trips, back to back. Girl's crazy, and we love her for it. This announcement was also sent out when I was at work, but thankfully, with 2 trips, the second one didn't fill up as fast. In fact, when I signed up for the second one, there were still a few spots open, and I got in. All of these adventures are happening through Trip, which is an organization that facilitates worldwide group trips for online personalities and their fans. When I saw the schedule and thought about how I hadn't been back to Japan since 2019, and seeing that Cindy made the decision to be there for 2 weeks, I went, you know what? I'm not going on both trips, but I could still go to Japan for 2 weeks, and there is a place I've wanted to go to for a long time. That place is Hokkaido. See, I've been to the Kanto region, that's where Tokyo is. I've been to the southernmost region of Kyushu back when we did our location scout. On this trip with Cindy, apart from being in Tokyo, we are going to visit the Kansai region, another centrally located region. I still haven't been up north. Hokkaido is the northernmost region of Japan. It is the agricultural hub of the country, as well as being the coldest and least populated region. In October, it's not too bad. There isn't going to be any snow, but there will be some rain. Not too much, hopefully, but I have prepared for it nevertheless. I love rain, generally speaking, but for this trip, it would benefit me the most if it just remained overcast without the precipitation, because I'm going to be taking my Zcam E2S6 and associated gear to Japan, and will be doing all kinds of filming as I explore the island of Hokkaido. This is the most intensive planning I've ever done for a trip. Even when we had a strict schedule to keep during those other trips, that schedule wasn't made by me. This time, I am making the schedule and designing it around cramming in as much as I can while factoring in non-optimal travel. Ironically, for Japan, the best way to get around in Hokkaido is to drive a car. Again, least populous region, mostly agriculture. Trains are not nearly as much of a thing as they are in the main bulk of the country. I could rent a car, but I do not feel comfortable doing that when I have never driven in a foreign country before, let alone one where you drive on the opposite side of the road. Maybe I'm just not being as adventurous as I should be, but for this first Hokkaido trip, I'm going to stick to buses. Except for the few times where I will use trains that basically only extend between the major cities. This means I'll have less time than I otherwise would and will be limited in where I can go, but it also means I can film the countryside while riding by in a bus, which I wouldn't be able to do while driving. Now, when I say railways extend between major cities, that's my goal for this trip. Travel between the 3 biggest cities in Hokkaido, taking in as much as I can along the way. I will start in Asahikawa, which is pretty much in the center of the island, then make my way down to Sapporo, and finally to Hakodate, with stops in a few smaller towns here and there. I'm leaving Nashville on Thursday, October 19, flying into LAX, then waiting for 11 hours before getting on an 11-hour flight the next day. Which is actually the shortest flight I've ever been on, flying to Japan from the US. I was surprised. I will travel into the future, ending up in Tokyo on Saturday, October 21. Brief overnight stay before hopping right on a domestic flight to Asahikawa Airport on Sunday, October 22. I will then follow the route I have laid out for myself, eventually ending up in Hakodate Airport, from which I will return to Tokyo on Monday, October 30. I will then do absolutely nothing the entire day, resting and recharging my energy so that I can attend a special event I've been invited to that night. The very next day, on Halloween, which for some reason has become like a travel day for me over the past several years, begins week 2, which is the trip with Cindy, her fellow YouTuber and unrequited love interest Elias, and 17 subscribers like myself. By the time you see this, I will have already started on this journey. In fact, I'm probably going to post this at some point during the 11 hours I'm stuck in LAX. Hopefully editing will help the time go by if I don't just fall asleep, which I hope I don't because I need to reset my internal clock to Japanese time. The next videos you'll see here will be a series of short updates that I'm going to try to do every day of my Japan trip. We'll see if I can get that done, but I'm definitely going to have a lot of cinematic footage for those 2 weeks to share. Meanwhile, on the Chuckles channel, after I finally post the Pachinko review, which will complete the 2023 Asian Readathon from back in May, as well as the 2024 Readathon. Maybe I'll get all of it done just in time to be late for this year's Readathon. You're gonna see those equipment videos I'm talking about, including finally putting out that now long since irrelevant Tascam follow-up video I said I was gonna do years ago. That should keep the channels occupied as I prepare the wave of new content I have for each of them, including the gaming channel. The short film is a part of that too, of course, as is getting back on track with the feature. Details about that in the next vlog. For now, I need to disassemble this camera rig and get it packed up along with everything else in preparation for my flight. Plural. I look forward to taking you on the journey with me as I get back into video making and traveling. Mata ne!